I have a really bad habit of feeling like a victim. I'm like a little puppy. If you don't pick me up and play with me as often as I want you to, I get upset and mad and I take my ball and I go home. Yes, I've always been like this, and I must get over it because it's ridiculous. But anyway, so here was my learning lesson between last evening. Yeah, no, last evening. Here was my learning lesson last evening. Two people. Two people that I was thinking didn't love me as they should because they weren't calling me as I wanted them to. I always initiate phone calls. I'm a caller. I am a caller. But anyway, so here's what happened, and here's my learning lesson. Well, the learning lesson is stop feeling like a victim. You're ridiculous. But here's what happened. So, my sister, who has a horrible habit of not returning phone calls, not just to me, to everybody. She simply, well, maybe not to her kids. She returns her kids' phone calls, but her brother, her sister, no, I don't know who else she doesn't return phone calls to, but she doesn't return them to me and my brother because we talk about this. Yet we still call her. Well, I stopped. I'm like freaking over it. No, if I call you, you must call me back or it's over. So after many attempts at calling her, leaving her messages, and having her not return my phone calls, I said, F it. I'm not doing this anymore. She has to call me. And if she calls me, I will return the phone call. I won't turn into my mother and make her feel guilty. No, I won't do that. I've learned those lessons from my mom. That doesn't make that doesn't make people want to call you back anymore. So we're not going to do that. We're going to be cheerful. Hey, how are you doing? Which is exactly what I did when she finally called me yesterday. And she called me to tell me the huge news that she was retiring, finally retiring by quitting her job. Her job was only in place to pay for the lawsuit she has against the Homeowners Association director, Bob. Okay, well, that being said, yes. So that's why she has her job. Well, she called me yesterday after not calling me for months. Now, I've been calling her for months. If she feels like talking, she'll answer the phone. Typically, she doesn't. If I text her pictures of dogs and maybe a Maine Coon cat, she'll generally respond to the text. But if I just make a phone call as their sister, rest assured, I'm not going to get a return phone call. So that's when I said, forget it. You know what? I need a reciprocal relationship. If I call you, you call me back. If you call me, I'll call you back. I do not call people back. So she eventually calls yesterday. Called her back. I was very pleasant. Hey, how are you doing? I didn't say anything passive aggressive like, oh, it's about time I heard from you or fancy you calling me. No, I don't do anything like that. That's what my mother would do. My deceased mother. God rest her soul. No, I was my pleasant, wonderful, cheerful self, even wrapped in the victim cloak. So she tells me about her decision to quit her job. She reads me the letter, the grand finale letter. It was well written, beautifully written, to the point where I thought and said, what if you get your supervisor's job? What if this letter is so on point that they offer you the job? And she said, no, I don't like the company. I wouldn't work there. So we continued to talk. And I said, well, Jerry, it's really great to hear from you. My feelings are a little hurt when you don't respond to me. And she said, Judy, you were the first person I called to tell them this information. You were the first person I called. And so that made me feel really good. And I'm like, okay, great. We're back. We're back. We're back. I'm not going to feel like a victim anymore. I'm going to change the victim outlook. And we all feel like a victim, don't we? We at some point, unless we're just immune. I don't know that my brother feels like a victim. I don't think my brother does. I think he's isolated himself, insulated and isolated himself against hurt because he just plugs along. He says, "Has Jerry called you yet?" No, he doesn't called me. And then he continues to call her like I do. I don't know if he made the decision like I did to advance, to not advance any more phone calls, to simply respond to her phone calls. I don't know if he did that. But anyway, I felt really good and that was great. Now, the other person who had not called me back was my friend Deborah, who I adore. I wake up this morning to a text from Deborah last night after I went to bed saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I feel awful. Every time I wanted to call you, something came up." And I know that feeling. I know that that happens. And Deborah and I are working on a project called Saving Diane Hurst. So Deborah and I have known each other since college. We both grew up in Pittsburgh, and we were both living on the campus of Duquesne University. I was Deborah's house mother. What a decision that was. The director, Kathy, must have had rocks in her head, but she made me the house mother on a floor at Assumption Hall, Duquesne University, that was going to house the art students. And she gave me that job. Oh God, what a story this was. All right, I was ready to get kicked out of college. I was bad. I was bad because this was the first time in my life I felt real freedom. And I took advantage of it. And I just went wild. I was in the music school at the time, my freshman year, in the education department. I was a flutist. My teacher, Bernard Goldberg, was also the principal flutist of the Pittsburgh Symphony. He was also head of the woodwind department at Duquesne University, so I got in easily. The School of Music, unlike any other school within the university, did not let you have unlimited absences. You only got two absences a quarter or a semester. Otherwise, you had to have doctor's excuses. So I had more absences than two, but I aced all of my exams. I shockingly even aced the solfege exam, which was sight singing. You have to be looking at a piece of paper and actually sing without piano or musical accompaniment. I aced that. And then when they said, "Well, Judy, you have more than two absences. Do you have a doctor's excuse?" I went to my friend Terry, whose father was a doctor, whose father I had met because Terry invited me to his house for dinner. Terry had a pad of doctor's excuses from his dad's desk and wrote me a doctor's excuse. Highly illegal. We were college students. It was my first semester, sophomore year. Anyway, the dean called Terry's father, who said, "No, I didn't write those. I didn't give her excuses. She never came to see me. She's healthy as a horse." Healthy as a horse. So the dean called my father and said, "Although your daughter is smart, she aced all of her tests. We still will have to have her leave the school if you don't keep her at home. She cannot stay in the dormitories anymore because she's been bad." So my father, oh my God, I adored my father. Hard worker, sending me through college. This man did not need to be put through these kinds of trials and tribulations. Did not. I was a wild, I was a wild person. And so he said, "Judy, you have to come home. So pack up everything in the dorm. I'm not paying for your room and board anymore." That's fine. I was wrong. I was ready to accept that. Love living it with my parents. Embarrassed I had to move home, but it was what it was. I was wrong. I was not a victim. I was wrong. Packed up the car, ready to leave campus, ran into my friend Larry, who said, Judy, where are you going with all your stuff in the car? I explained that I was bad, and in lieu of being kicked out of the school, I had to go home and be under parents' control. He said, well, maybe not. Over at Assumption Hall, they're looking for a resident assistant. They need somebody to be mom on the floor. Why don't you go over and apply for it? Which I did. That's how I met one of my best friends, Kathy. Kathy was the house mother at the dorm. And she said, oh, you're in the music school? Oh, you're a wild child? Okay, you can be the resident assistant on the floor for the Art Institute of Pittsburgh students. And that's how I met Deborah. We became fast friends. But we lost touch with each other once school was over. We reunited when we were both living in Palm Springs in the 2000s. So Deborah then has now remained a close friend in my life. We're not letting each other go. How I felt lonely or sad that Deborah wasn't calling me back. I think it was just because I felt like a victim with my sister. I also put Deborah into that little fishbowl of victims. And when I woke up and saw that text from Deborah from last night saying, I'm really sorry. I meant to call you. I know I owed you a call. I'm like, okay, I'm all good. I'm not a victim. They both love me. I am good to go. My learning lesson in this was stop it. Stop it, Judy. People have their own lives. People have things going on. No, you don't have to continue to call people that aren't returning your calls. So I did not continue to call Deborah when she couldn't talk to me Thursday morning. I mean, that was ridiculous that I got sad that Deborah wasn't calling me back in a day and a half. I mean, shoot me, I'm ridiculous. But I do work in the field of divorce. So emotions are all over the place. Although the divorce business is really going very well. I have a ton of business and I have a ton of really nice clients that tell me how much they like me, how professional I am. Who are they really talking about? I don't know. Anyway, so before we feel like victims, which I know we can all do, realize that these people in our lives have their own life to live, and you have to draw your boundaries. So, no, if you don't want to call anymore, if your phone calls aren't being returned, you don't have to. They will eventually call back. Do not make them feel guilty. That's the thing I want to share with you. Do not go mom on them. Do not make them feel guilty. Just be honest and say, my feelings were a little hurt when you weren't calling me back. And that's it. You said how you felt and you said it nicely and you didn't make them feel guilty. And my sister's thing was, but I have a boring life, Judy. Okay, get out of your own effing head. If I call you, call me back. Period. End of story. I don't give a shit. It's normally me that wants to share things with you. Great that I don't have to listen to your boring life. I'm fine just talking about me. I am fine. So that's my learning lesson. Do not make people feel guilty if you feel they're not giving you the love that you're looking for. Who knows what's going on in their lives? Um, but be careful when they actually do call you because you don't want them to not call you ever again. So that's it. That's the learning lesson I want to share. Now I'm going out to lunch with myself, Judy, next.